Hi, it's Emily or Emmy Rose 22A. Welcome to Crafty Accountability, a place to keep me accountable on my crafty adventures while sharing them with you. Today is Thursday, February 2nd, 2023. Welcome back. I was looking back through my recording history to see when the last time I had recorded was, and it was 2021. And the chunk before that was 2019. So I apparently record on odd years. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I'm hoping to change that, and we'll see how it goes in 2024 and how I do this year. My plan right now is to record maybe, I would like to do once a month. I don't feel like that's too much to overcommit myself. I'm thinking at the end of the month I can review what I've made throughout the month. We'll just kind of see how that goes, see how I'm feeling, see how my time's looking. I might do some shorter videos with just some like whip updates, work in progress updates. I'm not positive, but I would like to do crafty accountability once a month at the end of the month to review what I've worked on for the month. This month I only have yarny things that I've worked on. I got a migraine in the middle of the month, and it was a different-ish one. It was an ocular migraine, so it affected my vision a little bit, and I had some trouble focusing on things really well with my eyes. I could see okay, like I could drive and everything, but I couldn't do anything on my phone. I couldn't watch much on the TV, like cartoons, video games, things like that on the TV were bothering me. And my brain I kind of had the migraine fog brain for a week and a half. And so I didn't dare do any like quilting or anything fussy like that required focus. And I couldn't knit. I couldn't see to get into my stitches really well. So I worked on a few crochet projects. I was able to crochet, and the projects I was working on were fairly, you didn't have to be specific as to what stitch you were going into. There's granny squares and a corner to corner. So I wasn't looking at specific stitches. So it was a lot easier to follow the flow of those. So a little different kind of month. So we'll start with what I finished. The first thing I finished was a kind of a selfish make that I started last month. This is the Jimi Shawlette by D. O'Keefe. It is 2 skeins of worsted weight yarn. And this is yarn that I bought. This is some of the first like nice yarn I bought. It came from, I think it's called So Much Yarn. It's the yarn shop at Pike's Market in Seattle, Washington. One of the skeins, I think it was the speckle, which, let's talk about the yarn. The speckle is Plymouth yarns, Plymouth Select, worsted merino superwash hand dyed, and this is the colorway blueberry. And we found a coordinating skein to go with it there, because this, I believe this, the Plymouth yarns was on sale or clearance or closeout or something like that. So it was a really, really good deal. And so we got the purple to go with it, and it is Madeline Tosh, Tosh Vintage in the Iris colorway. So really pretty. This is a Shawlette, so it's a little bit shorter. My ends are just kind of like, my little tails are kind of just right there. So it's not a very big, but I mean, it's super warm and cozy around my neck. It's nice and thick and fluffy. And it's got a nice coverage, just not quite as long a tails. So, I extended 2 more sets of rows on the striped version to try to use up as much yarn as possible. And in fact, I used up so much yarn that I had 28 stitches to bind off in the purple that I didn't have yarn for. I don't know if I can even tell which side. I think this is the side I did. So I found a skein of fingering weight scrap that I had, and it matched close enough, and I held it doubled and used that to finish the bind off, and I can't tell which tail is the wonky one and which one's not. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And then this is all that's left of the speckled yarn. So I did a good job of using all my yarns. Next time when I'm cutting it close like that, I need to read the pattern a little more closely. on this last row because it had to do a, I did something, the bind off was one I hadn't done before. I can't remember what it was called, but you work on the wrong side of the row. So you had to do one more right side row coming back. And I think that's where I miscalculated and ran out of yarn. But it's a really pretty like finished bind off edge. It's supposed to be a little more stretchy. I don't find it super stretchy. It doesn't feel more stretchy than a regular bind off, but it is a nice like finished edge. So that was fun. I cast this on like the 28th of December or something like that, just for a fun, selfish cast on. I've had this yarn for a long time. I picked this pattern back when I bought the yarn, so like I knew that's what I wanted to do with it, and I just wanted to, it was caked up. So I pulled it out and I worked on it. Then I finished it. So my next finish is a crochet project, and I'll kind of, the way I got to working on this one was very roundabout, but this is the Crochet Crowd 2015 Mystery Crochet-Along Afghan with Yarnspirations. So it's designed by Sellick, and it's just a fun, bright Afghan with these cool X's, and it's 4 across 5 long. I didn't measure it, so I'm not sure how big it is. But it's just some fun, nice, bright colors. It could be a baby blanket or a toddler blanket. It's a decent size for either. The yarn I used is Red Heart Super Saver, and the blue is Aqua, the green is Spring Green, the orange is Pumpkin, and this is a pink. It's Bubblegum. So it's a very like, I don't know if it's coming up as pink or red. It's a very like bright pinky. I altered the pattern a little bit. There were big, I think that's why I had stopped on it. The green round was supposed to be big loopy things that you caught like later on, and I didn't like that. I didn't love the join they were using. Well, I liked the join they were using. I didn't want to do it. It was kind of fiddly. So it looked really, really cool and really, really pretty because it was a twist, like almost like a candy cane looking join, but I just didn't want to do that. So I figured out how to alter the round of green. Actually, I skipped the round that the green was supposed to be on, went to the next round of the blue and used the green for that, and figured out how to incorporate the green round into that. So I combined 2 rows into one. And then I did a row, no, I joined after that. So I joined in the blue again, just in straight granny square. I set it back up because it started with the granny square and you worked down into it. So I was really happy with that. And then the border is, I did a single crochet the blue all the way around, and then the colors are a single crochet chain 1, skip 1. So they kind of like nestle into each other. And I just did the 3 other colors from the thing. 1 more row of single crochet to finish it off in the blue, and that's it. Fairly simple, quick. I started this in 2015. I was working with the Mystery Crochet-Along as it was done, so it's really nice to have this finished and off the needles and out, and the scraps are put in my scrap yarn bin. So that was a really helpful, like, good finish for me. My other like finished objects were like maybe squirrel moment. I am trying to go through oh my gosh, I'm gonna drop people. My yarns in my craft room. I have a lot of yarn that I have been like, that's been given to me, like people have cleaned out their craft room and they give it to me, or some of it I got gifted to me from another source, and I just had a lot of like yarn come into my possession. And it's the yarn I'm talking about right now is like commercial acrylic. Nothing wrong with that. That's what that blanket is. I love commercial acrylic. That's why I took it, because I could make blankets out of it. Well, these blankets don't have a purpose. That blanket doesn't have a purpose. It'll go in my cupboard. I have like 4 or 5 other baby kid-sized blankets in my cupboard that don't have a purpose. I'm running out of people close to me having babies, so I don't super need them. So I'm trying to go through my yarn. In the bigger skeins, there is a local group of ladies that crochet or make knit and crochet blankets for charity. and I'm going to take my bigger skeins of yarn and donate them to them. The ones that I don't necessarily need, some of them I picked up on super good clearance. Some of them I picked up just because they were on sale. They were almost always, if I bought them, they were on sale or clearance or something. They were a good deal. And it's been 10 plus years. So like that money's gone. They're taking up space that I don't have. I've run out of room in my craft room, so I need to remove things. And I want to work on the things I want to work on, not that I have time now just to work on things just because I need something to work on, which there's nothing wrong with either. But since I have things that I have more things that I want to make than I have time to make them, I don't have spare time to be making other things. And I might as well be giving this yarn to somebody who can use it that way, make things. Anyway, so going through some of my bins, I have found various, I guess, started projects. I had some granny squares of varying things that were just a few random, like 6 put together. I had some middles for other ones. I had a block with the letter G in it, like single crochet Afghan style, but that's the only one that was there. So I had pulled those aside and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with them. I mean, my last thing was I was just going to throw them away, but I felt a little guilty. So I was waiting. And while I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with them, a YouTube video popped up on my feed. Hooked by Robin posted a new video for the crochet padded heart. And it is this cute little heart pattern. It's worked in the round, so it's 2 rounds. The front and back are like this. The hearts are the same, and then you join, if you're doing 2 color, you join in the contrast color. And I thought these were really cute, and I thought they would be really fun for my daughter's class for kindergarten. She doesn't put a hanger on them, or not kindergarten, she's in preschool. But for 4 and 5-year-olds, I thought how to make it more useful, so I've got a little clasp thing on it. Tabitha's will hook on the zipper of her backpack. So, you know, any of the kids can do that, or they can hook it on whatever they want, whatever they want to use it for. So I worked one up, and with the granny squares I had done, they were like 3 rounds and then in one color and then a border round in another color. And the outside color was enough to do 1 heart, and then the 3 rounds of the other were enough to do the backs and the joining. And I probably had maybe like 3 or 4 yards left over. So I made a little gaggle of hearts. I have 11 of them. That's how many kids are in her class. And this was the alphabet block, was this neon, this lime green, not neon, lime green and white. So I have 2 that are that. And the rest are various, like, this one's white and bright pink. This one's like a purpley mauve with a mauve-ish pink, which is that same one that's here with a pale pink. I think I have some of those with white. Yep, there's a darker one with the white. It was just kind of whatever. And I had a white square in there too, and a couple of the middle pieces. It just worked out. The only yarn I added was the red. My daughter asked for pink and red, so I added the red for hers, but all 11 of them for her class came from those granny squares, and it used all of them. It was serendipity. So I'm super excited to be able to throw these in her little Valentine's. And what? It's February 2nd and they're all done. Who even am I? That's almost more exciting that they're finished. So that was a little like side project that I hadn't planned on working on, but now they're all done. So it's now a finished object. Check. So I was really excited by that. Super easy tutorial. She's published the written pattern on her blog. I did them like the day after the video came out, so there wasn't a written pattern. So I watched the video and wrote down the instructions so that I could make them. There's a couple of like confusing parts. I haven't read through her written pattern to know how she wrote out to do them. So watching the video for me would be very, very helpful. So just throwing that out there. But oh, for my for this blanket, to join my squares, I used the continuous join as you go method, also hooked by Robin. As after watching that one, I'm like, you know, I should probably subscribe to her, and I did. And like not a week later, she posted those hearts, and they were perfect for what I needed. I'm also now thinking that maybe my fingering weight scraps that I have, I might have to make tiny little hearts, because how cute would like a vase of tiny hearts in all different colors be? Just keep them one tone, like one color. That might happen. Because those ones worked up super quick. Those were worsted weight acrylic, and I used an H hook. She said to use whatever hook your yarn called for. I went with an H. That's sometimes a little on the smaller side for some of the acrylics. They can use an H or an I. Went with an H just to keep it a little tighter. You don't stuff them super tight so the stuffing doesn't show through. And I washed mine just because my yarn had been in granny squares, and so some of it wasn't as puffy as it should have been because it had already been worked on. And they fluffed right up and it closed up the holes. So, all right, we will move on to works in progress. Let's say that's all my finishes, but like that's all. Good job, Emily. I've got my notes here, so I need to look at like what I'm working on. These are on the verge of a finished object. These are the Swing Your Partner Fingerless Mitts. The pattern is by Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady. And the knitting is done on these. I used mini skeins, so I have got a lot of ends. When I hit for the ribbing I couldn't, but once I hit the patterning, I used the Weave and Steven method for weaving in your ends as you go. So I don't have all of those to do. And it's got that cool chevron design on the back. And then it's just stockinette on the hand. So, and I will talk about this yarn next time. I am keeping the specifics under wraps for the moment. But like I said, it is a 6 skein mini skein set, so I just picked a color order and striped them 4 rows each. It pretty much worked out with 4 rows of each. I think the pattern had 97 rows, and with 4 dividing by 4, 96 is what worked. So that's what I did. I just took a row off somewhere. I don't know, because it worked out that, oh no it didn't. I don't remember. I don't remember where I took the row out at. I think it might have been on the top ribbing. It was supposed to be 10 rows and I did 9 rows instead. Or maybe I added one to the bottom row so that I could do the 10 rows at the top. That's what I did. I added a row to the bottom. The purple has 1 more row. Anyway, so these are done. They just need like a lot of ends woven in. So they're not finished and they need to be blocked to smooth them out a little bit. But I'm super happy with how they came out. And my next True Whip goes along with them. It is a hat. This is, let me see if I can get the, I don't know if I can get the patterning to show, because they're on 16-inch circulars, so it's twisting, like I can't get it to go. It doesn't want to hold straight. Oh, there we go, that's a little better. But what I did is, this is fingering weight yarn, and I wanted to do a hat to coordinate with the mitts. So I figured out the stitch count, stitch pattern from the chevron here, and I used the Boneyard Sweethearts hat by Stephanie Lotvin of Tellybean Knits. I knit that in November. And so I used the stitch counts from that. The mitts have a twisted rib, so I used a twisted rib on this just to kind of coordinate them. And then the repeat for this chevron pattern was 14 stitches, and the repeat of the color work on the Boneyard Sweethearts was 16 stitches. So I added 2 stitches in between the chevrons. So these chevrons are a little bit deeper than the mitt ones, but unless you're holding your hand up to your head. And even then, I don't know if anybody will notice. So I'm going to repeat my colors. I think 4 repeats will give me the same number of rows as I had on my Boneyard Sweethearts. And then I'll follow the decreases from that. I'm really excited for how it's going to turn out. I'm having a hard time visualizing it because I can't quite see, but I mean, you can tell the chevrons are kind of there. So I'm really excited to see how it's going to come out. I don't usually like wing it with knitting like that, but that's been super fun. It's probably going to use up all the yarn I have. I'm hoping I'm going to have enough to get through it. I weighed my Boneyard Sweethearts and I weighed my scraps, not my scraps, my leftovers of my mini skeins, and I had more than plenty, like weight wise, so I should be okay. So here's hoping. My next work in progress that I wanted to share is my Mrs. Weasley home knit Christmas sweater. My niece requested this for Christmas, but she requested it maybe in October. I figured out my sizing and everything in my yarn in November, but there wasn't enough time to get it done for Christmas, and she understood that. She would like it sometime this spring. She had said maybe by Valentine's Day, but it's not going to be done by Valentine's Day, especially where I lost so much knitting time last month, and I kind of moved on to that hat when I maybe shouldn't have, but I did. So it'll be getting worked back in the rotation, but this is the back panel. It's worked in 4 pieces: back panel, front panel, sleeve, sleeve, seamed together. She is a Slytherin, so that's what we went with. I added some, the sweater calls for this to be all solid. I did the contrast and then a little stripe at the bottom. She wanted that accent. I'll do the same on the sleeves. And then we're knitting for a while, then I'll go in for the, I'm getting close to my separation, I think, for the, well, separation for the sleeves, my notching out for the sleeves. So my stitch markers over here are counting rows. I will measure every 3 rows if I need to go like to 15 inches. So what I do instead to kind of stop myself from wasting a lot of time measuring and questioning my measurements is I check my gauge and say I have, this is not accurate, but if I have 10 stitches or 10 rows per inch, I do not, but if I had 10 rows per inch and I need to go 15 inches, that means I should need 150 rows. So what I do is using kind of the Crazy Sock Ladies method, I pull how many stitch markers I needed and I mark every 10 rows. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and then 80, 90. So I need to go to 90 rows. And so I'm probably pretty close to another 10 right here. So all I have to count is 10. So I count up 10 from that and I'll put another one in. And I'll take this whole long loop off and stick that in, and then I'll have the one more left. That way I know how many I have to go. I don't have to, I'm only counting to 10. And I don't even like usually count to 10. Like I know I'm kind of close here. I know I need to go 20 more, so I'm not like close. So I'll work a few more rows and then I'll count up the 10 and put the hook in. Once I get to where I only have one left, then I start paying better attention. So that's why I use those. This is my progress keeper from where I started. I don't even remember, but I'll move it up for this. So, but I'm making pretty good progress on this, and I'd really like to get back to working on it. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like meditative and mindless, and I make really good progress, and it's worsted weight. Oh, it is on, I'm using Cascade Yarns 220, Cascade 220 Superwash in the Army Green and Space Needle colorways. And this is by Marta Schmarta, and it's from the Knitting Magic, the official Harry Potter knitting pattern book. That's where she saw it, and she asked for it. She said she wanted one as soon as I got the book. I hadn't made her one, so now we're working on it. She had joked when she asked for it. She goes, I want it for Christmas, but you know, it could be Valentine's Day, just not my birthday. Her birthday's in September. So her point is, don't take 9 months to do it, but if you take a few, that's okay. Like I said, it won't be done by Valentine's Day, but I can guarantee she'll be happy if I can be like, hey, I got your back panel done, you know, by Valentine's Day. At least I'm working on it and making progress on it. So that's what, like, kind of, in my opinion, really counts. let's see, the next thing I was working on, and this is what I pulled out. Oh, I still have a progress keeper in here for some reason. I don't need that. When my migraine hit and my eyes went wonky, I knew I needed something. This is a corner to corner, just a baby blanket out of some super soft. The yarn is, and this yarn's at least 10 years old, at least. It's Big Lots yarn. So it doesn't have like a real name. It says Easy Knit, hand knitting yarn for baby projects. See, it's just Big Lots yarn. It was originally $2.50. I got it on clearance for $1.25 a skein. This took 4 skeins. I had 2 blue, 2 yellow, so I mean it's corner to corner. So you start in, I don't know which way it started, but you start in the one corner and you work diagonal until you hit the center diagonally, and then you work down. So I went with 1 skein until I was out or didn't have enough to do another row, weighing as I got closer. And that's when I started decreasing, and I used the other like skein on the way down. So I have a nice little square blanket. This is a finer yarn. I used an F hook. It's got a nice pretty sheen to it, and it's really soft. I didn't have anything for a border for it, so I just kind of looked we went to Michael's to see what they had, and I found this baby cuddles, loops and thread baby cuddles, and it's kind of got that same sheen, and it seems to be about the same weight. So I'm going to do a border in this. I think I'm just going to do half double crochets all the way around and then do a shell stitch. Just a fairly simple border. I haven't really been I finished the body of this blanket and needed the border, so I moved on to what I'll show you next. Well, and actually let me tell you my little crazy train of thought. I'm working on this and I'm like, oh, this is because I had pulled this out last year for camping crochet because I wanted something that was not hand-dyed wool, like nice wool to go camping with. So I pulled out this. It's an acrylic, it's washable, so if it got some camping dirt on it, no big deal, it would wash. So I had this out and next to my chair, so when I needed crochet, and it's corner to corner, so it was like you work into the chain 3 space, so you're not working into stitches, so I didn't have to focus super well. So as I'm working on this, I'm like, oh, I have that granny square blanket that I wanted to try to figure out how to finish. And part of the reason I wanted to try to figure that out is because that was gifted yarn, and I was gifted, I think, like 3 or 4 skeins of each color except for the pink, and I still have a bunch of those. And so I want to donate those, the full skeins, to the ladies making the blankets, but I don't know how many I need to donate until I get that blanket done, because I didn't want to run out of yarn and not have enough for that blanket. So as I was working on this one, I'm thinking all this. So as soon as this was done and I needed to figure out what I wanted for border yarn, so I thought I wanted to take a trip to Michael's to see what they had. I pulled that granny square one out, and then I ended up finishing that, and so now I know which yarn I can donate. And then when I finished that one, I was still on a bit of a crochet kick. My eyes were doing better. I still wasn't quite ready to send them to knitting. So I pulled out another baby blanket I had started. This one was probably started almost 10 years ago. The little boy it was intended for is 9.5. So I probably started it 10 years ago. Yeah, that's how I roll. And that's how I have rolled. I am trying to do much better at that. I have a game I'm playing that we're going to talk about in a bit. I'll talk about in a minute, but this is, what do they call this pattern? It's just called Filet Crochet Baby Bunny Blanket. And I don't know if you can see, well, it looks like you can see the bunnies okay. There's bunnies, they're facing the different ways. There's 4 squares of bunnies going across, and there will be 4 up and down. I'm on the 3rd row of bunnies right now. I had just finished the 2nd row bunnies. I was right at the halfway point when I put it away before. It must have been after the baby was born. So I'm guessing I gave up on it. I don't know. This is a free pattern. It was originally on redheart.com. I'm pretty sure that's where I got it from. They no longer have it there, but they're, I think it came up on like Best Free Crochet or something like that. If you just search Filet Crochet Bunny Blanket, it comes up. It is by Zelda Workman, and I am using Loops and Thread Impeccable in the Butterscotch colorway. I thought I had looked at my ends and I had used one skein for the first half of the blanket, because that's our kind of sort of where I finished off, was right where I was done with that skein of yarn, and I needed to join a new one. And I didn't see another end, but then I just found my other end right in between the first set of bunnies and the second set. So it looks like I can get a set of bunnies out of a skein. And this is the only skein I have, and that may also be why I set it aside, because I needed to buy more yarn. But Michael still carries this, and it's this color, and it's commercial, so it'll be close enough if it's not exact. And I believe there's a border on this, kind of just a fun little frilly-ish border. So I'll probably need 2 more skeins, one for the next set of bunnies and then one for the border, and that's fine. I can go get that and get this kind of out of my craft, well, out of my like to-do crafts and out of my mental to-do craft space. So that one's been set aside because I'm not really super working on just random crochet projects right now. I do have one more crochet project that I pulled out and kind of started and re-looked at. It's nothing fancy to look at right now. It's going to be a double a design blanket. That is a pattern of Annalise Bays of Vicarno Crochet Designs. I don't even have a picture of what it's supposed to look like, but you make these solid granny squares, and then you end up doing like a partial row of black, and then you do gray all around. So it kind of gives it that 3D like drop shadow. That's why it's double a design, because it kind of has a double edge. She did hers kind of like rainbow. The yarn I'm using is yarn that was given to me from my husband's grandma's stash. When she had to go into the assisted living facility, they did, I thought this was a really fun idea, they did a family garage sale, and they basically put all of grandma's stuff out like garage sale style, but everything was free. So it was, and they invited like all the family, all the grandkids, you know, kids, grandkids, everything, to come and see what of grandma's they might want to have. So I thought that was a really fun idea, and that was a really fun way to like kind of go through the things, you know, instead of having, I don't know if there was fighting or disputes or if it went peacefully. Anyway, she had some yarn. My husband said, oh, my wife might want some yarn, and he was there near the end of the event, and his aunt said, oh, well then you get it all. So I got a like kitchen garbage bag full of yarn. I've used it for various things. I've made quite a few things for our, like 2 or 3 different things for our daughter out of his grandma's yarn, which he loves. You know, it's extra special because, I mean, it's handmade by me, but it's his grandma's yarn, so it's got that extra family connection. There was a lot of just random acrylic worsted weight. It was all acrylic yarn, almost all acrylic yarn. There was quite a bit of worsted weight, and so I wanted to do an Afghan for him, and he does not like open granny squares. He thinks those holes are cold and you get caught on them, and he doesn't like them. So I needed to find something that was a solid granny square, and I wanted something that could use like a lot of the colors. So I found this one, and even in looking in the pattern pictures, she's got this, the one that's like the kind of bright colors with the black and then the gray background. And then she's got one that's softer colors, kind of pastels, not quite as light as pastels, but much lighter colors. And she's done the gray drop shadow in a cream background. So I went through his grandma's yarn, and it split pretty well that I could get 2 blankets, one in dark, bold, bright colors and one in soft colors. So I'm doing daddy-daughter matching blankets. So I'm starting with my husband's because that's what I had started with before. I started this before, and I had probably about like 20 or 25 granny of these starter color squares done, and they weren't looking quite right. And it was actually when I picked it back up to start doing it again after over a year, I had done the 3rd round wrong. So these corners were looking very rounded instead of more like pointy out, like, you know, corner. It was a much more like rounded square. And I've obtained a new hook. Oh, I do have it here. This I wanted to use for this. So I needed to re-crochet all of the squares because I had used just a clover, or a clover hook. Yeah, the clover Amore with the grippies on them. But I bought this beautiful hook from Knitbrooks, and it's an eye. That's what I was using before. And I know it's a maple. I'm not positive the exact type of maple. This wood is called Purple Heart, and this is a piece of beech driftwood. The handle part is. So it's a wooden, completely like handmade crochet hook. So it's beautiful, and it's an eye, and I knew I wanted to use it for something special. And I made up one of the squares to test, and I knit much looser with the wooden hook than I do with the metal hook. So I did need to go back and redo all of them, even though only the third round was wrong. I had to rip them all out. So I had to do that, like pull out and redo and add yarn too, so I have extra ends on those first 25 squares, which was not my favorite, but I did it, and now I'm working on it, and I've got I do much better. A big project like this feels very, like when you're starting it, feels very hopeless. Like you're not close to finishing. Like that bunny blanket, I'm like 3/4 of the way through the third row, and then I add the fourth row, and then a border, and I'm done. Like that feels very like imminent. Like I can finish that, and it'll be soon. And same with the corner to corner. I just need to add a border. Like that'll be done in, you know, 2 days, if that. But this, I'm just starting. I had to redo all those squares. And like I said, I had to add, like one of the squares had to be, oh, I'm losing Michelle. One of the squares had to be sacrificed to extra yardage, because I needed like an extra couple yards for each to throw in the extra stitches to make it the proper square. Anyway, it felt very hopeless. So what I did is I need 165 squares. I timed myself. It takes about 8 minutes to make a square. I said, well, I can do about 5 squares a night. That's 40 minutes. 5 squares a day, I guess. That's 40 minutes. I can come up with 40 minutes every day. Maybe just 5 days a week, not like 7 days a week. And so I kind of started doing that, and I was doing good, making progress, and I still am, but I wasn't weaving in any ends. So now I've added in weaving in the ends. So I don't know how many, I haven't set up my checklist yet. I'm excited to get my checklist going so I can track how many of each I have. So I'll know when I'm getting close to being done. I mean, and then I still have to add the drop shadow and join them together, but it's feeling much more doable now, and I can do 5 squares a day. Like I can do that, and that makes me feel like, boom, like that's a finished object for the day. So that's going really well. I've been so if I'm crocheting at all, that's what I'm working on. That's why the corner to corner doesn't have a border, and that's why the bunnies haven't seen any more love, and you might not see those again for a while, just because I don't know. I'm hoping I don't have to spend any more time just crocheting, and I'll be doing the squares if I have, or every day, so that I use that for my crochet time, and then the rest of any time I have for crafting goes to my knitting. So I'm just looking around. I think that's everything project wise I was going to talk about. Is that enough for you? Kind of confused, mixy matchy? I'll try to put like project information down in the show notes down below. I will also link to my Ravelry project pages, where my current stuff has project pages. These older crochet blankets and stuff may not, but part of the reason is I haven't been able to do specific information, but I'm going to go through, and like the blanket that I finished, I'll put finished dimensions in there. I'll put the yarns. I won't have weights, like how much of each color I used, and that's fine. I'm just going to put that I started it in 2015. I finished it here. Here's the colors I used and the yarns I used. I used an eye hook. This is the pattern. So I have at least that information, and other specifics at this point don't matter. Finished is better than perfect. So it will be finished. I'll take pictures of it and it'll be finished. So I'll try to have all that information down below so that you can see what I've got going on. So I mentioned that I'm kind of I'm using a game to help me kind of get through my work in progress situation. I am playing Whip 9 Bingo with Yarnaceous and Fangirl Fibers. It's a common thing you've all seen. Well, I don't know if you've all seen. It's common to do a make 9 at the beginning of the year, a 9 grid of makes that you want to make for the year, pretty much. It's a nice pretty grid. You can do pictures, you can do whatever to keep track of your make 9. I've done a make 9 for the past probably 4 years. I have never finished a make 9. I think part of my problem is that I set out for very specific things at the beginning of the year, and as is evidenced by the hearts, I get sidetracked fairly easily. Or even things just come up, like if you want a birthday gift for somebody, or like, I don't know now what I'm going to want to knit for Christmas for people, if I'm going to want to knit anything at all. So setting 9 specific patterns at the beginning of the year is not the most helpful for me. And what they're doing with the Whip 9 is to try to cull your whips, basically. And a whip is a work in progress, if you don't know. And I have a lot. I am a very scattered crafter. I'm really good at jumping on like the next bandwagon. Well, not even bandwagon, but just the next project, like shiny. And I've had trouble with things getting kind of like that double design blanket where it just feels so sluggish and overwhelming. And even like with shawls, a lot of times I'll get, through the first half of the like widthwise, then you get so many stitches, it feels so slow. I figured out how to set up spreadsheets, like progress spreadsheets, so I know like I am 75% of the way through, and at this point I'll be 80% of the way through. And at first, like on a triangular shawl like this, when you first start, your 5% might be 10 or 20 rows, but when you're down here, your 5% might be like 2 or 3 rows maybe. But I can see that percentage. I can see 5% is gone. So even though it's only 2 rows, I'm making that progress and hacking away, and I'm that much closer to being done. So that has been really helpful for me. It just takes time to set up the spreadsheet, go through the pattern, and do all the stitch counts and all that. So I do have to take the time to do that, to know where I'm at with things. And sometimes that can put me off from even doing it, which doesn't let me finish things. But anyway, I'm really bad at getting slogged down in something or missing intended deadline. So I set it aside to work on something else because I didn't finish it for what I wanted to finish it for anyway. They have a 9 patch set up with predetermined things in each square. Like one of them is, let me see, what are my finishes going in? This one is my 2 skein project. There's a 1 skein project, 2 skein, 3 skein, more than 3 skein, so that would be 4 or more. There is a older than a year. There is a gift knit. There's a mystery bag, so it's like one of those project bag that you're not sure what's in it. Finish that. So you get to check them off when you finish them. And they have a Discord group set up where you can upload your bingo card, and you don't have to predetermine it. I mean, it's just those things. So like I'm going through my whips like this, corner to corner, if I finish it, could be my more than 3 skeins, because there's 4 skeins in it now, plus there'll be a 5th right there. So that could go in it. If the Harry Potter sweater gets done, that could go in that one. I have lots of options of where things can go or what I can do to fit into the different categories. And even, I mean, technically if I finish the sweater and the blanket, one could be the 3 skein and one could be the 3 or more skein, because I mean there are 3 skeins in there, there's just more than 3, but it still fits in that category. It could even be the 1 skein if that's the only blank I had. But they have small prize they have sponsors, so they have prizes, and so monthly they're doing small prizes. Just okay. Sorry about that. My alarm warning me to get my daughter one off, so we're going to be wrapping things up here. If you get 3 in a row, they're doing monthly prizes. The big prizes are quarterly and then annually. So it's really helping me to want to work on whips or works in progress as opposed to just starting all the new things. And I want to work through my yarn that I have that I bought with intention to make things with. But I'd also like to finish the things that I start. So I'm not limiting myself to only working on whips, but I am trying to work on my whip bingo cards. So this shawl is on there. The blanket's on there. Well, will be on there. I haven't figured out exactly where I'm putting that one. Well, that's my more than a year. That's what that is. Although that one was started in 2015, which is what, 8 years ago. The yellow one was started 10 years ago. This corner to corner was probably started probably about 10 years ago. Like I said, I'm really not the greatest at, and I know the double A design was more than a year ago that I started that. I've restarted it now. Anyway, I had posted a picture on Instagram of my whip corner, like when we started the whip bingo, and I think I counted 28 whips in that corner. And just for reference, the blanket I finished was not in that corner. The yellow blanket was not in that corner. The corner to corner was, and the double A design was. Obviously the hearts were not in that corner. I have a lot of whips in my craft room. The 28 that are supposed to be out there are not even what's in my, including what's in my craft room. So I really want to just be finishing some things this year. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on. I might do another video where I sit down and with filming on that whip corner, like where I actually sit and crochet and knit at the end of the night, and just go through everything over there. It'll give like me accountability to you guys to see like what all projects I have over there. Plus I'll remember what all is over there. I can make a list and figure out what's there. Again, I have more in the craft room. I don't find it very efficient right now to go through my entire everything to find all of my whips to figure out what I might, if it's not in my whip corner, I probably don't want to work on it right now. And that's one thing going through them. If I don't want to work on them right now, I want to get them out of my whip corner and put them in the craft room. I'll have a bin in there that they can live in that I can go to when I need more. I am starting to work on some other things as well. I have a couple of stitching projects, an embroidery project and a cross stitch project that I want to start. I have gotten the supplies and everything to get started on them. So I'll probably bring those next month to show you. And I am making some pot holders for gifts. And they're just in the building stages. I do quilt blocks for the front of the pot holders and then bind them so they're really, pretty cute pot holders. So that's some of the other stuff I've going on. I haven't started the stitching projects. The pot holders are kind of in the middle, so I mean I could bring them to show you, but I had so much yarny stuff this month since I've bounced around a lot. And as you can see, this is how like my whip situation starts, because these 2 crochet blankets that are partway through, I don't know how long they're gonna sit now until I pick them up again. It may be soon, it may not, I don't know. But it really feels like right now, if I have the desire to crochet and the means to actually be able to look in the stitches and stuff, that my double A design blanket is what should be getting my focus, because I need to make, if I do 5 squares a day, I need 165 squares for my husband's blanket, and that was 33 days. So I'm not planning on doing it 7 days a week. My goal is 5 days a week, so that, you skip days, you miss days, whatever. So it's gonna take me over a month to get just the squares done, and then I have to do the accent color and then the last one and joining. So I mean, we're looking at probably 3 months per blanket with those. I mean, that's 6 months of crochet time right there. So these other ones may go back into hibernation in the craft room, and that's fine with me. I'll keep them on my list, and I'll know, like, I now know what I'm doing with them. My ideal would be to add them to Ravelry with the hook size and everything, and I can jot in the notes what my plans are for them so that I know, with the bunny one, I need 2 more skeins of yarn. I may not run out and buy those right now, or I may, if Michael's has a good sale on their impeccable yarn, I might just go get the 2 skeins and stick them in with it so that it's ready to be done. We shall see. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens next month. I'd written down when I was first starting to do this video, or wanting to do this video, I thought about it a couple weeks ago, that I did set goals for this year. I haven't focused on them at all this month. Or in January, I didn't really pay much attention to like keeping up on them or anything. I kind of set a lot, and that's what I tend to do for myself, and then I don't do so great following them because there's too many. So I think for February, I just want to pick a couple that are my focus goals. I don't know what those are. I had thought of that a couple days ago. So I might go through a video kind of talking about all the things that I want to have as goals. I know a lot of them craft-wise that I was kind of setting for myself. I was setting quarterly. So I would have, 3 months and only 4 projects in the year, like 4 quilts that I finish in the year and things like that, so that they're not so like demanding and overwhelming. So we'll see how that goes. If nothing else, I will see you at the end of February to see how much stuff I get done. I do also have to do Tabitha's birthday, my daughter's birthday. 5th birthday is the 24th. So she's having her first like birthday party. So I'm doing invitations this weekend. I'm going to use the Cricut. I found a really cute SVG. I need to make her birthday shirt. I do, like a vinyl shirt for her. And I want to use the same SVG for cupcake toppers. So I want to get those made and done so that I'm not trying to do them the night before the party, because that's usually what I do. So we're trying to be a little more on top of things this year, but I really want to get those party invitations done. So I'm pretty sure I'll make at least one extra for her scrapbook. So I will bring that to show you next month too. All right. I think that's more than plenty for this. I really didn't expect it to take this long, but that's okay. It is what it is. I had a lot to talk about. So it was great talking to you guys again, and hopefully we'll plan on seeing you next month. Okay, bye. Have a Rosie Ray day.